Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Armchair Booking Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host. My name is Stunning Steve Barber. And on today's episode, this week's episode, I'm going to give a little bit of a preview of the next WWE PLE pay-per-view event that's coming up. And it's actually coming up here in about 3 days. And that is Backlash France, which is actually kind of a cool title because it's actually their um, very first big event, like the PLE, the premium live event or a pay-per-view that's actually being held in France. And WWE has been doing that lately. They've been holding some in Wales. They've been trying to hold them in Scotland. They've been holding them in London. They've been holding them in places over in Europe. Maybe one day they'll actually head to Asia. That'd be kind of cool if they did that. But I want to give a preview of that. But before I give the preview, I do want to give some updates about some things that have been kind of going on a little bit, and part of that is including the recording date. Right now, just because of what I have going on, it feels like the best date for me to record right now is on Wednesdays, and so I'm going to try to get the episodes out on Wednesday. And now I may throw some more in there here and there, those bonus episodes, as events may warrant it, as situations may call for, like maybe a special episode, a very special episode. Remember those back in the day? Yeah, okay, back in the 80s. If you don't know what I'm talking about, the very special episodes, well, you may not be old like me, but uh, but as I'm the goal right now is try to get them out every Wednesday. I know I've been slacking. I know there was just some stuff going on. I know last week's episode, I actually covered a little bit of that. And to be honest with you, that was definitely my fault. I mean, nobody's holding a gun to my head saying, "Hey, you can't record," but I just let some things kind of get to me. And I do believe I covered that at the very end. By the way, I have not heard any kind of response. And I'm not planning on pushing it any further. If the person who I was speaking of, if they choose to address me, they can address me. Now, I'm not going to, I won't take any false accusations anymore, but so don't come at me and accuse me of false things. So that's all I'm going to say on that. And that is it. I do not want to discuss certain people anymore because honestly, there's more important things. And that's some of the things I'm going to discuss. While I actually have everybody's attention, I do want to give some attention, to give some shout outs to other people who actually do deserve, some more attention, some more love. And these are people that I consider friends, fellow podcasters. The summer, I'm friends with them even without the podcast. In fact, I'd probably say most of the people on this list. In fact, you know what? I'll say all the people on this list I'm friends with regardless of podcasting. Some of them I may have met through podcasting. We became friends outside. Some of it's funny because we became friends, we met through wrestling podcast, and now we've hit on other what do you call it? Other similar interests that we've also become friends outside the realm, which is always cool. I mean, that's why I love the podcast world. It's a way you can, really just get in touch with people. I mean, it's fun. But obviously, you can see I'm still running solo. Unfortunately, Dwaylen is still on hiatus, and whenever he is ready to come back, he will let me know. And I believe me, I will be waiting because as much as what I've gotten kind of used to doing this solo or having guest hosts or just guests, when I'm doing it by myself, um, it is always better with me and Dwaylen. And I think anybody would agree with that. I've actually had friends actually tell me, "Hey, um, you're doing good, but we would like, when's Dwaylen coming back?" Because everybody does miss him. And I've been told that, quite a few times. Because if you don't know the extent of Dwaylen's wrestling knowledge, I mean, you're really missing out. Now, I did tell him though, if I am able to score like certain interviews with some pretty big names, he's going to come back on. And because I would not want him to miss the opportunity to do some of these interviews. No names because obviously I don't have anybody set just yet. And right now I'm also having to not necessarily push interviews just because I have some stuff coming up where I'm probably not going to be able to record at all for a little bit. But I'll also talk about that here in a second. But first, I want to give my shout outs First of all, the last speaking of which, the last guest I had on the show, and very fun show, very good guest. He actually has his own wrestling podcast. He just passed up the 8 year mark. Wow, 8 years of doing his wrestling podcast, and that is Duke from Duke Loves Wrestling, and that's one that we he's the like I guess the latest wrestling podcast that I've become connected with. Love his show, and he does a great job. He also has another podcast, non wrestling podcast, just like what I do. Tell us the truth. I think, no, yeah, I think it's the name of it. Uh, but enjoy both of them, and so yeah, tell us the truth. That is actually the name of the podcast. I had to make sure. I was like, "What is that right?" Yeah, but yeah, Duke's a good dude. I really talk with him. Not just about wrestling, dude, just about a lot of just his life in general, because he's a very smart guy, very easy to talk to, and of course, speaking of other podcasters who I have to mention the Podfather himself, and that'd be Ted. It is no longer Ted the Hillbilly Hill. It's just Ted, Ted's takes. And, Ted, I mean, he's going away from audio. He might do it occasionally now. I mean, he'll let you know that, but his stuff is mostly on YouTube now. He does shorts. He actually does videos, and of course, he's Ted. He does a great job. Ted has a very good mind for the business, and he and I are both fans of the old school, and we both grew up because Ted's he's right about my age. I want to say he might be a year or so older, but either way, I mean, we grew up watching the same kind of wrestling, and so he and I actually know a lot of the same old names. We both share a lot of the same opinions, and even the ones we don't necessarily share the opinion, we have actually had good discussions about those. And speaking of another good show, another old school guy, BC Hunter from Wrestling with the Truth, Wrestling with the 80s. It's funny because he actually got off audio for a little bit, then he came back just for kind of a real quick appearance, but then now he's come back a few more times, but he's still running his video as well. BC is just another guy. He's just very busy, very big wrestling fan. And he and I are actually talking about me going on his show right now. Again, I have not been on their show. I've not been on BC's show now for about a year and a half, I want to say. He has been on my show since then, and it's always a pleasure to have BC on, and it's always a pleasure to be on his show as well. I mean, I always feel like an honored guest anytime somebody invites me on, so it kind of gives me a that warm fuzzy feeling in my tum tum, makes me feel like maybe I am doing something right, and that's always a good thing. But also speaking of another good, great dude. I mean, everybody's a great dude, but then I still have to tell you, I mean, um, Mike and the guys from Finisher Wrestling, man, some of the analysis points that they hit on, Mike and Bink, and the man of many names. I'll just put it like that. One of the names I saw was Stevie Ray Cyrus, and I was falling out of my chair laughing when I saw that name, or heard that name. But as the analytical points they hit on, I'm like, man, I mean, and it's stuff that I had not thought of. And by the way, I mean, there for many, many years, a few decades, including my last civilian job. I mean, I was an analyst by trade. So it was probably, and they're still finding stuff that I'd never thought of. Like, man. So I very highly recommend their podcast, Finisher Wrestling. And, just check those dudes out. Great dudes. I've been on their show. They've been on my show. And as the way Mike always puts it, man, we need to run it back. We really do, because I love being on their show and I love having them on mine. Another one, and this is actually some guys, I actually met them. Okay, it was funny. I met them in person first. We both discovered, hey, we both had podcasts. They saw my shirt, and maybe the shirt I'm wearing right now that just says armchair booking. Those of you audio only, I'm wearing one of my armchair booking shirts. I always try to wear a wrestling shirt when I'm doing this. This is one of the original armchair booking shirts. It has the red letters, white ring. And it was Eric Big Rig who actually saw it. He's like, first of all, love the name. And I've actually had a few compliments on the name. That's another thing that makes me feel good, because I actually came up with this name, man, probably at least 6, 7 years ago before, and then it took a while to get it up and rolling. But so for then, love the name. And then he said, he had his own shirt on, DWO. I was like, okay, Dad World Order. And it turns out it's their podcast. And I love that podcast. I don't get really because they're mostly live on YouTube, and then of course you can go back and watch it. But if you watch it, I mean, they've actually had some really good guests on there. They had Al Snow on there not that long ago. And I mean, I was like, that's a good. So that says anything. I mean, they definitely got some clout, and just go check them out. I'm always going to shout those guys out, and I love seeing them at the events. They were at some of the Northern Wrestling Federation events, but then when we were talking about information, I said, yeah, if I go on Twitter, I said, what's your thing? And look, turns out we were already following each other on Twitter. I had no idea. That was something that still makes me laugh when I think about it. Also, another podcaster, and he's actually been on here before, and he's also been on my other podcast, and I've also been on his podcast. Once again, love with the cross collaboration, and that is Justin from TNC Sports Talk. And TNC Sports Talk, I mean, the throw in with Justin, he covers all sports, not just wrestling, but he does spend a good bit of time on wrestling. But Justin's also a huge baseball fan, and with baseball season really kicking in, I mean, he's really been spending a lot of time on baseball. And he and I text each other also on the regular, just to see how we're doing. And and he's always giving me, some feedback, giving me good suggestions on some things, and giving me topic ideas. And go check out TNC Sports Talk to throw in with Justin. You can find it on YouTube. And uh, he's doing some little bit changes right now because um, Justin also has a newborn he's taking care of, just like Dwaylen has a newborn he's taking care of, and all my friends have newborns, and I'm like, well, more power to you because I don't have the energy. I really don't. But I mean, but honestly, I love babies anyway, so I just don't have the energy if I had to take care of one all the time. So my hat's off to you because I know these two guys. I mean, they love being dads. They should be also be part of the dad world order, but they love being dads, and they're great at it. And so that's another reason why we're such all good friends. And also another person who I've not had on this podcast, and I've not been on his podcast, is my friend Kenny. Met Kenny actually at an NWF event at one time. And, cool dude. I recognized it real quick. Oh, this dude, he's a cool dude. And then I found out that he has a podcast, and he doesn't just do wrestling. I mean, he has like, all sorts of other interests, and he has guests on his podcast, and he also covers a lot of things around the Lexington area. And just a good dude. And it's funny when I actually saw him at a couple, of the fan fests that I've been to. And so Kenny, I mean, he is, he hits up the events in Louisville. He hits up the OVW tapings. He hits up everything. And so you want to talk about a dedicated fan? That's Kenny. Another just awesome dude. And I would definitely be remiss if I didn't shout out Dwaylen and really the intellectual rock star, because he hasn't been able to update. He hasn't been able to do any episodes for intellectual rock star in a while. Just because, I mean, he is just super swamped right now and has been for a while. So it was the same thing, you know, um, when he, basically we talked about he was going to have to take a hiatus from this show, the way he was also taking a hiatus from his own show because he just has a lot of stuff going on. But I still want to give him a shout out because he is still one of my closest friends and has been for, see, we graduated high school 31 years ago, 33. How long has it been? 33 years ago now. Wow. Which means we've been friends now for almost 35 years. And so, you have a friendship that lasts that long. You definitely want to always kind of recognize that. And because Dwaylen is, what they say, ride or die. He's that kind of friend. And so I definitely always want to shout him out. And the last one I want to shout out is really, it's not me. It's just my other podcast, the Cubicle Chat. That one I'm running 4 to 5 days a week. Every once in a while, I won't run like a Friday episode, but sometimes I won't run on Friday. I'll just run on Saturday before everybody else gets out of bed. But on that one here, I've actually broken it up into topics for each day of the week. It's Monday is military. So military Mondays, movie and TV Tuesday, musical Wednesday, sports and games or sports and leisure Thursday, which by the way, this all kind of sounds like Trivial Pursuit categories right now. And then on Fridays honestly is kind of a wild card. It's random. It's free form. I don't know if I should say that because that might be trademarked somewhere, but like I said, it's just anything. But actually do have guests on there occasionally on those. Justin has been on there before. Dwaylen has been on there. Let's see. I've had some other friends who've been on there. I actually just had a friend of mine from the military to discuss her own military career this past Monday. And I'm looking here in a couple of weeks, and I say in a couple of weeks, and somebody's saying, "When did you start it now?" Well, I one of the things I have to update is here in a couple of weeks, my wife and I are going on a cruise. So I will be out of pocket for probably about a week and a half. And so I know I will miss at least one day of recording, 1 week of recording, I should say. And um, my wife's already told me that I am not allowed to bring my laptop on the ship and I am not allowed to record. And if I try to record, she might just punch me in the face when I'm asleep. And to be honest with you, I don't blame her because I do need to just kind of go and decompress. So we're going on a cruise and we're going to be enjoying ourselves. It's our 25th anniversary. So that's kind of a milestone, because unfortunately, I mean, I know a lot of people um, who have never, they've been married multiple times. None of them reached that far. Um, so I will be out of pocket, and that's why some of the plans I'm having to kind of delay until we get back. Next week, I am planning on having a review of Backlash France. Oh, but after that, you won't hear from me again for a few weeks. So I just want to get that out there, that, and then I almost feel like I want to brag that, hey, we're going on a cruise. Check that out. Bahamas, Cayman Islands, there you go. We've had this thing paid off for like a year and a half because back when I was still working. By the way, I'm still not working, not for lack of looking, but I also did just get some good news. In fact, it was wild. I got the news while I was recording the episode of Cubicle Chat this past Monday. Very ironically, it was the military episode with my friend Becky. And the phone call came. In fact, it came a couple of times. I told Becky, I said, I need to answer this. I said, because it's, somebody, and because they kept calling, okay, I knew it had to be important. And I found out that my Veterans Administration, or just VA for short, disability rating has now increased from 60% to 80%. And so that means an extra $700 a month. So definitely good news, especially when I'm, still looking for work. But does kind of ease the stress, because we've been getting our bills paid, but there's been some months where it's been tight. It's been very tight. So um and this Saturday um is not only the day of Backlash France, but the Northern Wrestling Federation are putting on, it's now their third annual Revolution Rising event. Unfortunately, I will not be able to go. And it bums me out that I won't be able to go because they put on such a great show. And Big Mama, she's the one who runs it. And I had to text her and I was like, hey, I got some bad news. But, she understood because I said, I'm not going to be able to go. And she was actually going to send me people, some of the girls to interview. And well, I mean, um, they haven't sent me anybody, so more than likely I won't be able to interview anybody before the event, because I asked her, I said, since I'm not going to be able to go, do you still want me to interview? Because it is one of those things. It's like, hey, everybody go to this event. I'm not going, but I mean, I wouldn't have announced that on the show, but I'm not going to be able to go. But and it's still going to be a great show whether I'm there or not, because I've been to the first two, so the last two, and they were all great. I mean, it got so big. The first one they actually had to change venues, for the next one, because the first one they had in the VFW hall in downtown Cincinnati, because they knew they were going to have a crowd, but they didn't expect the crowd to be as big as what it was. The NWF Army is large. I'll just say it like that. But they're going to be down at Hits in Covington this coming Saturday, May 4th, Star Wars Day. And it'll be a great event. It really will. It always is. And the reason I can't go though is because my daughter, who is home from college, her birthday is Sunday, but she's having the celebration dinner on Saturday. Um, she chose that date, and it's not because of the wrestling thing, because my daughter went with me last year to the Revolution Rising event, and she had a blast, and she actually wanted to go again, but she had to schedule her birthday, dinner on the same day. Of course, the last 2 years, Revolution Rising, the weekend was actually around Memorial Day. This year, it's um, moved up 3 weeks. So it happens. I mean, I'm not going to dictate to anybody when they have their events. I mean, I just had, unfortunately, I won't be able to go. Uh, but Big Mom, she understands. I mean, I texted her, I was like, hey, I can't go. But I said, it's my daughter's birthday party. She's like, oh, well, crud. She's like, but she agrees with me when we all say family comes first, period. And she understands that. So um, nobody's irritated or angry at me for not being able to go. It is disappointing because I'm going to miss a good event. I already know I'm going to miss a good event, unfortunately, but I'm going to be celebrating my daughter's birthday. So and she's actually home from college right now, so um, it's going to be a good summer. So before I also start with the preview of Backlash France, I want to go ahead and give the contact information for the show. If you'd like to email the show, you can email the show at armchairbookingpodcast@gmail.com. You can find the show on the socials on Facebook and Instagram. Just look for Armchair Booking. On Twitter, X, it's at Booking Armchair. But you can also find it on TikTok. And obviously, you already know about YouTube if you're watching on YouTube, so you know we're there. And for the merch, we're on TeePublic. You can go to www.t-public.com. I'm sorry, just tpublic.com/user/armchair-booking-podcast. And on there, you can actually find shirts kind of like the one I'm wearing now. You can also find phone cases like this one that I'm holding up for the people on YouTube. Notice that the color scheme is a little different. You can actually get a few different color schemes on there. I mean, there's things like pillows. There's hoodies. I actually have a hoodie sitting over here now. It's getting too warm to wear it, but I actually have a hoodie that I've actually worn, when it's cold, and because I like for people to know about the podcast. And I have a pillowcase. I mean, I've had like the mask, the COVID mask. I'll just call it that. The COVID mask. I actually have one of those. I have stickers that I bought. But there's so many other things you can get on there as well. You can get laptop cases. You can get like tote bags. You can get things like that. I mean, it's actually really, really cool. So definitely go check that out. If you're watching this on YouTube, you'll see the links that'll be coming across. I have not linked them, but they'll be scrolling. Honestly, it's my fault. I need to ask my daughter, who's a whiz, a bit. She's actually majoring in media studies, but she already knew how to do a lot of this stuff anyway. You got to go check out her channel as well. But maybe there's a way I can link where it's scrolling. Maybe just have a pop up and you just click on that, and boom, it'll take you right there to it. But if you're audio, in fact, not only that, but audio and video both, look in the show description. You'll find a link there. Just go there, take you right to it. Go check out the merch. And before we start now, I'm just going to take a swig of my black raspberry sparkling ice. Because that was a lot of talking I just did. By the way, that is not a paid advertisement. I just happen to enjoy the black raspberry sparkling ice drink. So, Backlash France happening this Saturday, May 4th. And it's going to be happening in the LDLC Arena in Dessinnes-Charpieu in Lyon Metropolis, France. It is not in Paris. A lot of people thought it was going to be in Paris, but it's not. It's actually in Lyon. Lyon is another central part of France. I mean, it's Lyon is one of the bigger towns outside of Paris. Most of you think France, you think Paris, but they're going to be there. This is their first pay-per-view, PLE, whatever. The first one they're having outside, or first one they're having in France. And I heard they're planning some in Germany as well. How you like that? But I'm looking forward to it right now. There are 5 matches scheduled, which seems kind of wild because you're thinking an event like that, any kind of the major events in a PLE, it doesn't have to be the WrestleMania level, but it's still, one of their events that they put on. You would think more matches, but I've also noticed that there is a lot of filler. Even though Paul Triple H Levesque is doing a fantastic job of running the creative now, and there's been a lot of positive changes happening. One of the things that I would still say y'all need to look at is how are you stretching 5 matches into 4 hours, or even 3 hours for that matter? You have a lot of filler in there. There's a lot of other people who would like to have a match in this card because I'm pretty sure they would also like to get their paycheck for this card and just to show off what they can do. That's one thing I will say. Get some more matches, dudes. Come on. But I want to go ahead and give my own preview for these matches. And there's 5 matches listed, and I will not go in the order they're listed on Wikipedia. I'm actually going to go in the reverse order because they always have the main event, what we're pretty sure is going to be the main event, listed first. But I'm going to start with the bottom and work my way up. And the first match they have listed is tag team match. This is not for a tag team title, but this should be, it's almost a grudge match. That used to be a good stipulation to put on a match. Hey, what else? A grudge match. Oh, grudge match. Oh man, this ought to be good. It's a normal match. They're just more mad at each other. There's nothing really special about it, but except for it's going to be hard hitting. And so let grudge. Okay, these people don't like each other. But it's Randy Orton and Kevin Owens versus the Bloodline, which consists now of Solo Sikoa and Tama Tonga. Tama Tonga is the son of Ming, or Haku, King Tonga, whatever you want to call him. But that's his son. And of course, they're also related. But I mean, either way, he's part of the Bloodline. And of course, Solo Sikoa is the Usos' younger brother. He's Roman Reigns' cousin. He's also the son of Rikishi. Kind of a fun fact. 6 months ago, a little bit of, I guess it's now 8 months ago, when I went to FanFest, though Ming and Rikishi were actually across the gym from each other, just the way their tables are set up. I mean, I know they didn't set up the tables like that, but Ming was on one side along with the Barbarian. By the way, both of them are just super nice guys. Even when Ming got me in a chokehold for the picture, and I asked him how many people you choked out today, and he's like, "Oh, a couple hundred." So just casual conversation, just talking to the Barbarian about when he first came into Mid-Atlantic area, and he did the run-in on the Assassin, and the Assassin was actually a face for a little bit, but the Barbarian did a run-in. I talked to him about that. I said, "Yeah," I said, "I remember watching that," and he's like, "Oh," he said, "Brother, I was so nervous," and he was, just the way he spoke. I mean, he wasn't like intense or anything. He was just very just cordial and just casual, and and then you wouldn't think this dude could literally just take his 2 fingers and probably just break my throat right now. And we know Ming could. I wouldn't want to see them two get in a fight. It would probably be ugly. But two of the toughest men, ever, probably the 2 toughest guys in that room, period. And then of course, across the way was Rikishi, Fatu, whatever you want to call him. I mean, he was another one, really nice guy. I actually bought a Bloodline shirt from him because he had a size XXX. I was like, cool. But we talked a little bit about Pensacola because he said, "Yeah, I still have property there." I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." But I actually got to meet them all on the same day, and now their sons are in a tag team. But as far as like the predictions for the match, I've been thinking about, God, I'm trying to think about all these, and these are, it's not as easy necessarily to give the predictions for the matches, because this is what I'm saying about how the storytelling has progressed in WWE, is you can no longer predict them. I mean, they've set it up to where now, hey, anybody can win this one. But for this, I'm going to give it to the Bloodline just because, and I know this is kind of a cop-out reason, because Tama Tonga just showed up. And Solo Sikoa, now they're kind of pushing him. Is he the head of the table now? That kind of thing. But they're not going to have them lose right out the gate, unless it's losing by like disqualification or something like that. But they're not going to have them. If they lose, it'll be because of that. It won't be to a pinfall. And I have a feeling, and actually, if they do lose by disqualification, they are going to leave Kevin Owens and Randy Orton wrecked inside the ring, just because it just makes sense. So that's my call for that one. And they were there. I mean, I know the Bloodline, Roman is taking a break from the business for a bit. You got some stuff going on. I know some people are speculating, well, maybe the leukemia came back. I really hope not. But but he is taking a break. Sometimes, and I know Roman honestly didn't wrestle that much when he was champion, and so now I know that was actually another common complaint was, hey, dude, why aren't you, you're the champion, why aren't you actually defending your title? And by that was also a complaint about Brock Lesnar. It's like, hey, dude, you're the champion, why aren't you defending your title? It's supposed to be every 30 days. Well, they threw that at the window. I hope Paul Levesque is bringing that back because it adds some more intrigue. It gives it more of an air of uh, legitimacy with the titles when you have to defend them. You can't just sit back and go, well, if I don't defend it, I never lose it. Well, of course not. So I do like the way they're doing now, but yeah, I don't see. I mean, I see the feud moving forward. This won't be the last match between them, between all these, because we already had the thing with Kevin Owens and Tama Tonga, because Kevin Owens apparently got ran over by a car a couple weeks ago on SmackDown, but now RKO is joining them, and so you have RKO and KO, thing like that. But I mean, I think it's going to be a pretty brutal match. Don't expect a lot of high flying scientific holds in this. I mean, this is not going to be a wrestling match. This is going to be a fight, period. And I think it'll be fun to watch. Next one listed going up, the Kabuki Warriors, Asuka and Kairi Sane against Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill. This is for the WWE Women's Tag Team Championship. I know the fun pick will be Bianca and Jade Cargill. And I would actually like to pick that myself. And you know what? I'm going to have to go with it because Jade Cargill just came in. They're trying to push her as being indestructible. But I will put a caveat on this. If somehow the Kabuki Warriors, actually, you know what? The Kabuki Warriors could cheat and win. I'm going to go this route. Okay, never mind. Forget what I just said. Kabuki Warriors, but through deceit. They're going to somehow cheat and win this. I mean, whether it be mist in the eyes, whether it be somebody getting hit upside the head with a chair or a kendo stick that somebody must have snuck into France somehow and got into the ring. Somebody just I don't know who keeps leaving their damn kendo sticks out under the ring, but they need to stop. I mean, come on now. But something like that. I mean, they will win, but it won't be clean. So, but that'll give a chance, and it'll probably be Bianca taking the pin. I don't think they want Jade taking pins yet, but Bianca has already proven herself over and over again. And she's also shown, yeah, it's going to take you hitting me upside the head with a cinder block to beat me. So please don't hit somebody upside the head with a cinder block, by the way. That's just a figure of speech. Seriously, people. So Kabuki Warriors, but by deceit, Bianca and Jade, they'll get another chance down the road. Next one, triple threat match for the WWE Women's Championship. This is Bayley, who's the champion. She's defending against Naomi and Tiffany Stratton. I kind of saw this one coming. I'm just wondering, is Tiffany ready for it? I mean, I want to pick her because she is definitely on the way up. I can see Tiffany winning this, but yeah, you know what? I see this is going to be Tiffany. Tiffany's going to walk out there new champion. People are liking Bayley. Her new change that she's done. And people are glad to see Naomi back. I'm glad to see Naomi back. I mean, I think Naomi is very talented, and I think she definitely is the veteran who can give a good. She gives great matches. Actually, she really does. But I'm going to go with Tiffany Stratton, and she's going to hit that triple Lindsay moonsault that she does. What does she call it? The most beautiful moonsault or something? I call it the triple Lindsay moonsault. The way she bounces up. By the way, she has a background in the trampoline gymnastics. That's why she pulls that off so well, because it's just bouncing up and boom, and there she goes. And she's got a good look. She's got a good move set, and she does things good. And she is really good at being a heel because people want to see her get beat. And I think that her winning the championship, even though, I mean, it's still early for her, but who's going to eat the pin? That's the thing. I mean, Unfortunately, I think it'll be Tiffany pinning Naomi to win the title. That also, this is one of the things I've stated before. I don't like multiple opponent matches like this, where you, unless it's for a title, unless it is an elimination style match. That to me would make more sense because to have somebody lose a championship, even though they never actually lost, they did not lose the match. They didn't need the pin. They didn't tap out. They didn't get knocked out. To me, that is a cop out. And not only that, but the whole no disqualification, no count outs, things like that. All it does, the multiple matches, whether it be the triple threat match, whether it be the fatal four way, the frickin' five way, the sexy six way, or whatever. It seems, especially the ones with the odd numbers, so the threes and the fives. I've never seen one with seven, but with the threes and the fives, it's like you have two people in the ring, or in the case of five, you have two different pairs pairing off in the ring while one person is outside the ring taking a break. And even in like the fatal four ways, you have people laying outside the ring. Once they, well, y'all turn your turn, y'all go in there and y'all tear it up. All right, I'll be in there in a second. Just let me kind of stretch up my back a little bit. All right, I'll be in there. I personally think they need to bring the countouts in there. Have a referee outside the ring. I'm counting. You need to get back in there. There's no resting. And because it's like if you say no disqualification, well, they're starting to show them taking full advantage of it, or all of a sudden they're bringing chairs in the ring and they're hitting each other with them. Well, no disqualification. They're choking them out, no disqualification, and that's the thing. We'll choke them out. Go for it. I mean, no disqualification. But I don't know. I would just make it an elimination style match because right now I think Naomi's going to pin. Naomi's going to get pinned by Tiffany. Tiffany's going to be the champion. Bailey didn't lose it. Somebody else lost it for her. And after that, because I do try to think about the then what's and all these. Um, the first two I said, yeah, they're going to continue something. This one, what do you continue with a triple threat match? I mean, honestly, you're going, if Tiffany and Bailey may feud over the title, Bailey's going to get to have a rematch. At least they should, because hopefully that's something else that Paul Levesque's bringing back is, automatic rematch stipulation. Boom. Instead of this, well, you lost it. Oh, well, go home. Bye. But that's just my opinion about it. If I'm wrong, let me know. Armchairbookingpodcast, gmail.com. By the way, if you go on any of the platforms and you give the show a 5-star rating and you give it a review, if you can't give a review, I will read the review on air. I promise you, I will read it. If you use a platform that does not allow you to give a review, but you can still give a rating, and you send me a screenshot, though, armchairbookingpodcast at gmail.com. If you send me a screenshot of that rating along with a review, I'll read that on the air. If you don't want me to use your name, I won't. I respect everybody's privacy. The reason I say that is because going in there, giving the show the rating actually helps it get noticed. Even especially on YouTube, you hit like, share, subscribe, share it with your friends, let them know about it. Give me feedback if you think there's something I can do better. Let me know. By the way, for those watching YouTube, I do apologize for the camera. My camera that I just got a year ago, all of a sudden it started shorting out, and so I'm going to have to get a new portable camera. So for right now, I'm having to use the camera once again that is actually built into the laptop. So I apologize for all the fuzziness, and part of that may just be my long hair, my long goatee. But moving on, next match. It is a singles match for the World Heavyweight Championship. Damian Priest is the champion, of course, after he cashed in on Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania against Jey Uso, formerly of the Bloodline, formerly of the Uso brothers, and technically they are still brothers, but they fought each other at WrestleMania. I do not think they're going to pull the title off of Damian just yet. And to be perfectly honest with you, even though I do like Jey Uso as a single, I like him better as a tag team with his twin brother. They are part of the Bloodline, and so I'd like to see him, because Jimmy got smacked around and he got spiked and everything else by Solo Sikoa and Tama Tonga, and so he's essentially been kicked out of the Bloodline. And Paul Heyman's there, still in the Bloodline, I guess technically, but he's kind of fearing for his life. And by the way, Paul Heyman's just awesome. I want you to know that the way he's portraying the character, I mean, he is, Yeah, he is just amazing because you want to talk about one of the best promo people in the business and just the way he does things. And because he's done like everything in the business. I mean, I know he's only had like a few actual wrestling matches, like probably maybe a handful at the most. But being a promoter, being a manager, being a mouthpiece, I mean, he's just phenomenal. But I don't think Damian Priest is uh, ready to not be a champion because they just put it on him. And this was after almost a year of everybody saying, cash it in, cash it in, cash it in. WrestleMania come and everybody knew he's cashing in, especially when Drew McIntyre was just hanging around the ring after he beat Seth Rollins for the title. You're waiting, all of a sudden, here comes the music. Judgment Day music hits, and here comes Damian, and he's cashing in, and he's winning the title in like 19 seconds. And Drew was a champion for all of 5 minutes. But I think Damian walks out here as champion. He's not going to lose it. Now, Judgment Day is kind of showing some cracks in the cement. Um, I think he does get it more or less clean, somewhat. I think there's going to be interference on both sides. Jimmy may come in and interfere for Jay, or actually at the end when they may give Jay a kind of a beat down because that's what they've done, and then Jimmy's going to bust in and save him because he is still his twin brother, and they're going to reunite, and they're going to go on and do more great things as a tag team, the great tag team that they are. But of course, you never know. I mean, his brother Solo Sikoa being there, they may also interfere to keep Jay from winning. So Damian wins, but not clean. Once again, because they're a heel. That's what heels do. Come on. I mean, sometimes, yes, they will win clean, but not today. They're not going to win clean today. The heel's going to heal. Period. That's the way it comes down to it. But Damian Priest walks out as champion, which is good. I like Damian Priest a lot. Yeah, and I think he's actually going to do good with the title, and he's going to keep it at a high level, thankfully. Last match, singles match for the undisputed WWE Championship. Cody Rhodes, champion, is defending against AJ Styles. AJ Styles actually won a tournament, a 6-person tournament. There was 2 triple threat matches, and the winners of those 2 triple threat matches went against each other. And to get this match, AJ Styles pinned LA Knight and earned this title shot. And this is AJ after he beat Kevin Owens and Rey Mysterio in a triple threat match, and LA Knight beat Bobby Lashley and Santos Escobar in a triple threat match. Excuse me. I'm sorry. This one, Cody's taking it. They're not going to put the title back on AJ, not for a while. If they ever do, AJ honestly doesn't need the title. AJ is so good in the ring. AJ Styles, he really is phenomenal. I mean, they call him the phenomenal AJ Styles, and he works so good as a face. He can work really good as a heel. He can just do anything in the ring. And they always point out how old he is. I mean, and AJ Styles is almost 50 years old now. I mean, he's at least in his mid 40s, and he's doing stuff that like people like half his age they can't even really do. He's got the phenomenal forearm, and then he's got that springboard 450, and he's got the Styles Clash, and he's got the calf, but he's another one very similar to Gunther. He can just beat you in so many different ways. People forget about that. And he's been a champion in the past. He's been a world champion in the past, and I just don't think they're not going to drop the title just yet from Cody to AJ. They're not going to drop the title off Cody, period, because Cody right now. Justin actually texted me the other day, and he asked me, "Do you think Cody is the face of wrestling right now?" And I'm like, "Oh, absolutely, he is." The face of wrestling, first of all, is not going to be anywhere but WWE, not for a while. I mean, maybe a few years ago, because the way things were shifting and the product WWE was putting out was not the greatest. I was actually explaining some of this to one of my cousins who called me today because he actually caught part of Raw the other day. He has not watched wrestling on a regular in a very long time, but he was actually asking me questions. He's like, "What is this draft thing?" It's like, "What are they got a draft?" And I was like, "Well, this year they call it a draft, but nobody really switched. Nobody switched brands. Everybody stayed in the brand they were at." So honestly, my personal opinion, make the draft go away because you draft them to one show or the other, and they still end up making appearances on the show that they're not necessarily on. I mean, seriously. So, um, but yeah, Cody just won the title. They're not going to take it off of him just yet because they may not have a riot in France, not over this anyway. It's not like, believe me, it's not like they don't have riots in France at all, because they do. But you're going to have some really, really ticked off fans if they pull the title off Cody already. So I think Cody takes it. I think he takes it clean. I think it'd be a good match. I mean, my Lord, look who's in there, Cody and AJ. It's going to be a good match, no doubt. And so I'm looking forward to it. That is actually this Saturday. I'm actually not sure what time. I have not looked at that yet, because I know there's about what, a 6 hour time difference between the East Coast and France, and actually that part of France, it may be 7 hours, but I'll have to look. But I think it's about a 6 hour time difference, which means that the show will be probably starting around noon. Maybe the kickoff show will be starting around noon, maybe 1 o'clock Eastern time. I have not looked, and if I try to look now, it'll probably cut off my Zoom. But like I said, I'm looking forward to watching it. If I'm not able to watch all of it, because I don't think I'll be able to catch the end of it, because of, like I said, my daughter's birthday celebration. That will trump anything else that I'm doing. I mean, it's trumping me going to a really good wrestling event. So, but that's just what it is, because my family will come first, period. Now I try to talk them into, let's move her birthday celebration to Revolution Rising, and my wife looked at me like I was an idiot. I'm like, you already knew that. Come on, seriously. But um, go check that out. If you are in the Cincinnati area, go check out Revolution Rising at Hits in Covington. You can always just Google Hits and you can go watch it. That's going to be a good time. And hopefully, this should be a good weekend for wrestling. And next week, maybe even Monday, I may try to do 2 shows next week, maybe at least 2 shows, amongst other things. But my wife and I, we're going to be prepping for our cruise. So maybe I won't be, but we'll see, because the cruise is going to be a cruise. That's going to be fun. So, but until we can all speak again, this has been the Armchair Booking Wrestling Podcast. And I thank everyone for tuning in, whether it be audio, whether it be video. And I just want to say to everybody, thank you. Thank you so much. Like, share, and subscribe. Follow the show on whatever podcast platform that you use. And good night, and God bless.